Hello, friends. I am Neeraj. Welcome to another session of Jwt Authentication project using Jin. So, in this session, moving on, we will set up our routes and we will also set up all the prerequisites which we are going to need in coming days while we implement the JWT tokens and we will sign and others. So, in this session, we are just going to create the prerequisites. So first of all, we will create some directories. So first of all, we will need the controllers. So we will create one controller directory, and likewise we will create another one routes. So it should be at the root level, and also I am going to create one helper directory. So that was in this directory. So we will keep all the helper files like we hash the passwords and other stuff, so we will see those them very short in coming days. And also we will also need to have one other directory, that would be our middleware. So it should be middleware. So it will have the authentication middleware. So these are the stuffs so which will complete our the directory structure. And now it's time to work on our, first of all, so we will work on our controllers. So I am going to create a file user.go, so it would be a part of package controller. And the endpoints which we will need, like first of all, so we will need a login route. And secondly, we will also need register so that user can register. And one more, so we will need logout so that user will log out. And we will need a special function, a special endpoint to get the refresh tokens. So these are the endpoints which we are going to need. So like in Fiber, so we can set up the routes, and we need to provide, if we look at it here, the way we had implemented that it takes a handler function. So in this our controller file, so we are simply going to create a handler one. So for example, so we will first, and we will put a comment login handler, and it would be our register handler. So anyways, so and it takes a parameter. So we need to pass the pointer to our gen dot context. And for the sake of right now, so we are simply going to say c dot json. And we need to provide the status code. And secondly, it takes so we can provide the gen dot h. And it would be a context object. So we can also create a variable here. So we will say context, or we can also say like a return object. So, and we can say gen dot h, and we will supply pass on this returned object here. Okay. And here I am going to pass a few stuffs for now, just for the sake of understanding. So let's say status we are providing okay, and message. So message would be, let's say, login route. Okay. So this way, so our this login handler is completed, and now we can work on our routes. So we will create another file in this directory. So route.go, and it would be a part of package routes. And we will start with a very basic one. setup, we will call it setup routes. So the idea that it will set up all the routes so that we won't need to pass create the routes manually in our main.go file. Okay. And in the setup routes, so we need to provide a full-fledged like a gen engine, actually gen instance of a gen. So we will create a, let's say we will say a variable or variable r, and it would be a pointer to gen dot engine. So it should be engine. So this way, so all the, so we are collecting the reference of the gen engine in the variable r, and now we can use the proper routing information. So r dot get, and we can say the, if the user types in login, and then we will pass the our handler controller dot login. Remember, we don't need to provide like this. We are not invoking it, rather we are simply providing a reference of our handler. Okay, so this way, so we will also duplicate it a few times, and we will say this one is for register, and the handler would be register. So we don't need to invoke this, and we will also say logout, and it would be log out, and we will get for this refresh token as well, and it would be refresh, let's say let's say refresh token. So these are the, so this way, so we are getting this red line because we haven't created that register function in the same way like we in the proper handler function. So let's work on this register one. So very quickly, gen dot context, and we will very simply copy this so that we will save the time, and we will replace it appropriately. So we will say registered out, and yes, that's okay. So pretty okay. And for the time being, so I am going to comment these two stuffs, and instead of get, rather it would be a post, or the login and the register both would work with the post, not get. So that way, so our controller is in place and our router is in place, and now we can very quickly just replace this whole stuff, because we don't want it to work on the, if the user types in only the our domain name. So rather we will say routes dot setup routes, and here we will pass our the reference of our gen, so that we had already collected in the variable router. Okay, so this way it looks fine, and now it's time to start our server. So we will say error. So hopefully there is no error, and now we can start our Thunder client. So we will initiate a new request, and if we say localhost, and the port is our port 8001, and if we initiate it just right now, right with using a get method, so we are getting a 40404, because there is no such route. But if we change it to post, and here we have to say the login, so here we are getting it correctly, that our API is working fine. So we are getting the appropriate wherever our application got got triggered, so that so our application is triggering the appropriate endpoint. So we can also check for the register as well. So register also, so we are getting it correctly. Okay, so that is the stuff for today. And one thing I would like to share here that with you guys, that the way I think is like, if we proceed step by step, so maybe the total number of sessions could be increased. But that way, so I think like that way, so we can have a very firm and very good understanding about the whole concept. And the moment we understand the concept, then other things would be much easier and very, very flexible enough. So hope you agree to me. And if you have any suggestions, so definitely do share that with me, and I'll try to incorporate that as well. So that's all for this session, and I'll see you in some other session. So till then, take care and happy coding.